Hi everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Show Me How It's Done. My name is Laura Nerbonis and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So welcome. Every Tuesday at noon, I love to share with you a little video about how to do a project that I've been working on, or sometimes I just show you some fun techniques. And today we're going to do both. So I have some very fun techniques to show you in combination with some of the current products that Stampin' Up! Has. So what I would like to start with is just highlighting for you the products that I used on today's cards, and then I will show you from start to finish how to do the cards. If you get stuck at any point, I have listed all the supplies and all the measurements in the description on this video. So you can just hit pause and you can catch up and have those pieces cut and ready to go. So for today's cards, we're using the Stippled Roses bundle, and this bundle can be found in our January to April mini catalog. There's coordinating dies and a gorgeous stamp set. So I'll just show you on page 64 of the catalog. That's where you'll find this bundle. There is a really pretty embossing folder as well that does complement the suite. I didn't use that on today's cards, but it might be something that you keep an eye out for just to kind of add to your little collection of potential with this suite. Now, the reason that I'm showing this to you now, because I know you're all looking at this and you're saying, Happy Mother's Day, Lauren, you're a little early. The reason I'm showing this to you now is because of the Softly Stippled Designer Series paper. Now, I don't have a full pack, unfortunately, to show you anymore, but this paper is one of the free items that you can receive during our Celebration promotion. During Celebration, every $60 you spend, and there's some items for $120, you can receive items from our little mini Celebration catalog for free. Keep in mind, I'm in Canada here, so your numbers might be a little different if you're in a different market, so check with your demonstrator to see what you have to spend. But most of our selection started out the same. We are running out of some things now because this promotion ends February 29th. And so all of these goodies are, of course, while supplies last. So just keep in mind that you'll want to check with your demonstrator to make sure things are still available. But this softly stippled paper was designed to coordinate perfectly. See, it even says it coordinates with the Stippled Roses bundle. And so there's even a few more ideas for you to create with this bundle. And this is why I'm showing you this card now, because if you want the paper and you're even thinking about this bundle, get it in before February 29th. So I did put my website down at the bottom of the page here, laurenerbonis.stampinup.net, and you're always welcome to go pop on there and see what's new, see what's available. I love helping you place orders if you get stuck, but you can also check out on your own. If your order is over $35, then you're going to get a set of my monthly cards for free. And if it's over $100, I will also be sending you a little embellishment gift too. So yeah, just to thank you for your order. So let's get playing. This needs to move. Okay, so to create both of these cards, you can see I used just two different designer papers. So whichever one you want to use. To create both of them, we're going to grab ourselves a card base. And I'm going to move, I think I'll move one of them out of my way. Okay, so this card base is Lost Lagoon. What I have done is I have cut this at 4 1/4 by 11, and I'm going to do 2 score marks in here. I'm doing one at 4 1/4 and another one at 5 1/2. Okay, so I first would like to have you fold the 5 1/2 one right here. So that basically just folds your card in half. If you've got your bone folder handy, that would be great. Do a nice crisp line. Now this second line here, we're going to fold backwards. Okay, and that is going to give us the ability to have kind of a secret little small card inside. So we're not using a full card space worth. We've closed that off, but we're still decorating the front as if it was kind of a standard A2 card. So inside of our card. How do we close this off? Well, that's really quite simple. We're going to put a little adhesive inside this space, and I'm going to use tape, but you can use seal or glue just to close that off. Sometimes I write a little funny note inside here just for myself that I'm like, haha, they don't know what's in there. And it's just kind of amazing. So you can hide something in there if you want. There we go. Okay, we're closing this. The only part that should be sticking is that little rectangle of space. Okay, so for the inside of our card, we would love to put something to write on, I know. So we're going to cut ourselves a white square. This will be 4 inches by 4 inches, and I wanted to do a beautiful little kind of leaf bough on here. So I'm going to stamp that first because it can be tricky to stamp things when they are inside the card. So I'm going to grab my Lost Lagoon ink, wherever he ended up. There we go. And my nice giant leaf. So we're just tapping on that. This is also nice because if I make a mistake, I can easily just turn my paper over and I have a whole nother side to play with, okay? So there's my leaf. It looks great. Close your ink up so you don't put your hand in it, like I am always tempted to do. Not on purpose. There we go. We'll attach this to the inside of the card so you have something to write a little note on later. There we go. Sneak this guy in here. Oh, hold on. That one crooked. So I always just set things down and I never really push until I'm happy. Oh, much better. There we go. Okay. There's the inside of our card. Now for the front. We're going to attach our designer series paper, but before we do, I want to show you how to get these kind of fun rough edges. And I thought these like old school kind of rose and plants and stuff, they were the perfect card to do this. So we're cutting designer series paper at 4 by 4. And then I want to do a little bit of a rough edge on this. So I'm actually going to take, I should probably have flatter scissors, but you're going to take a pair of scissors. You're just going to rub all over the edge of your designer paper. So do you see how it's roughing it up? It's not nice and smooth anymore. It's giving it a really rough texture. So that's what we're going to do. It's called distressing. So we're going to distress our designer paper. You can do this with cardstock as well. And it's completely up to you how much you do. The more you keep rubbing and kind of move the paper, the more distressed look you're going to get. So you'll do that with this panel here, the 4 by 4. And then there's also a 1 inch by 4 inch piece that I've cut, and I started distressing that one. So I'm just going to finish that off. And you can use really whatever designer series paper you want from the package. They will all look great. Okay, once you're happy with those two, we're going to put them flat onto the card. We're not adding dimensionals under this part. I'm just going to put them in their own little spaces onto the card front. Got a plant that's kind of directional. This has a stem going up. Just make sure it's facing the right way, otherwise you'll be sad. But some of them are just kind of a collage of different images, so it doesn't really matter what your top and bottom are. So for our next step, we might get a little bit messy. So what I suggest is having a scrap piece of cards, like either chipboard or cardstock or something that you're going to use, because we're going to grab the largest of our stylus shapes dies and we're going to make our little focus image for the card. Okay, oh, you can't see that. There you go. So I'm going to start with stamping. I've chosen to use Happy Mother's Day. Of course, you can customize this to whatever occasion you want, but I just figured in that stamp set, I'll show it to you again. There's a beautiful scripted Happy Mother's Day. The other alternative that I offered, because this was one of my February cards, is Sending Thanks, because again, it's a beautiful script. It would fit right in, and we're focusing on the Stippled Roses set. So I'm going to do Mother's Day because I think I need a couple of those. I'm going to stamp just on the left-hand side here, kind of towards the center. And then I want to add some splatter. So this is where we get a little bit messy. You're going to grab a aqua painter, a clear block or palette of some sort. It doesn't really matter what it is, but you'll need a drop of the ink refill. Now, if you don't have ink refills and you're kind of feeling a little stuck, what you can do is you can take your ink pad and kind of press this together so the pad touches the lid like that, and you can make a little palette like that too. I just don't like doing that too often because I don't like a bunch of water getting into my ink pads. But if you were to dry this out when you were finished with it, that would be okay. But I would suggest when you buy an ink pad, just treat yourself to the re-inker as well. And then you'll never have to worry if a color retires or something like that, you can't use it again. So really, the only reason I go through some of my re-inkers is because I host classes and I use things like Early Espresso, Night of Navy, Cherry Cobbler. We use those all the time. But I would still say I don't have to replace my re-inkers a lot. And a color like Lost Lagoon, you can see I've had this color for a year at least, and it's barely, I think maybe I've had to re-ink the pad once. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of the water and just squirt it down by pressing. It'll squirt onto your pad here, and you're just diluting your ink color. You don't want it full and too bold. So I'm going to suggest maybe like move this away if you've never done this. Just test this out, okay? So go up a little higher and then just kind of tap, tap, tap. And do you see how it's starting to give me these little dots? So the higher up you go, the further those dots are going to splatter out. But just keep in mind you want to stay on top of your little pad. So you can't see them too well because of course that thing's speckled. So get lots of, you want this almost dripping, get lots of liquid on there, come up high and tap, tap, tap. Okay, you can add as much or as little splatter as you like just by simply tapping on the aqua painter. Okay, and as this dries, it will set a little bit, so don't worry about how it looks wet now. But we're going to set this aside and do a little bit of our next step. Okay, so I like to give that a good amount of time to dry. Now, the fun part about the Stippled Roses set is it has, of course, beautiful large images, and you can use the dies to cut those out. But this is a lot bigger than the paper, the designer series paper. So what I did is there's two 12 by 12 sheets of designer series paper with all sorts of these flowers on them. I just fussy cut myself one of the larger ones and one of the smaller ones. Okay, so these are all fussy cut, but if you don't like fussy cutting, you can use one of these images. Just, I will caution you, this will kind of take over most of your card. You won't be able to see a lot of the decal underneath it, and that's fine if that's your preference. Okay, so I have fussy cut this out. and I fussy cut my little one out. But if you look at them, you'll notice, hopefully, a bit of a difference in texture. And you're probably wondering how on earth I kind of gave that to them. So this is a technique that I learned at my very first Stampin' Up! Conference that I attended. I was watching Shelley Gardner, who is one of the Stampin' Up! Co-founders, and she was just talking away about her sets. She had finished cutting out a little flower, and then all of a sudden she went like this, and the crowd gasped, and we were like, what are you doing? But she just sat there and kind of bent her paper as many times as she could till she finished what she was saying. And when she opened it up, you had a whole new texture to the flower that she was building. And I know this is probably a little uncomfortable for some of us. We're not used to crumpling our paper up. But it was a good reminder when I saw this paper. It kind of reminded me of that event. I hadn't thought of it in years. But I was like, you know what? I think we need to remind ourselves that there's different techniques and different ways to bring dimension to our projects. It's just out there. Okay, so I like using the designer series paper because it has that pink DSP on the back of it. So if there's anything showing or popping up, it will kind of bring it to life a little for you. But you're going to do that with your large, and I did it with my small flower already. Okay, this should be dry, so we're going to pop him up on dimensionals, and then we're ready to start decorating. Don't forget to use all the edges from your dimensionals. I always have lots of these left, and I kind of save them for when I need big chunks on the back of something. They're really easy to use. So this white decal is going to be kind of your focus, so it will go right in the middle of this pink designer series space, and then you'll play around from there. So keep in mind that some of the flowers on the paper will be different. This one, for instance, came from the very edge of the designer series paper, and I want to remind you, you can use those pieces too. I thought the edge cut actually looked really sharp. And then when you look at this guy here, it is the full flower, but they give kind of different looks, right? So this is another one of the full flowers. I'm going to put a little adhesive just on the edge of this white, and that's how I'm going to stick my flower on. I don't want to try putting dimensionals under it because it has a lot of play already. I want to just give it a chance to kind of rest on whatever tape it can touch. So that middle section will be a little flatter, but then my outside parts are going to have still a lot of lift and a lot of life to them. And then I did think it looked really cute to put your second flower up at the top. So the same idea, I'm just putting a little double-sided tape under the spot where the flower will rest. And I'm going to tuck that in right there. Then I decided I wanted to use some of the dies from Stippled Roses because so far I hadn't used them at all. So I just cut out one of these nice little branches. But you're looking here and you're saying, well, Lauren, you have two different things going on. So instead of cutting out a whole second one, all I did was I just trimmed off this very tiny small leaf. That's what I'm going to use to tuck in the top. And then I'll use the rest of this piece to tuck in the bottom. Now to attach these, glue dots are going to be your best friend. They're super, super sticky and very easy to use. So I do this right on the roll. I put my little leaf on the glue dot and then I pull the glue dot off. This will be very sticky, so just try to escape as much as possible. And you can just kind of stick that in behind the white tag and in behind your flower. Same thing for this guy. It will be strong enough to hold it if you simply put one glue dot down near the bottom stem. Gently lift that off because it is such a delicate little stem. And then we'll tuck this right underneath this flower here. Make sure not to cover up your words if you can help it. So you might have to play a little bit. There you go. And then the last thing that I thought, well, we need a little bit of bling, a little bit of light. So we have these really adorable iridescent, like kind of glittery gems. And I'm going to just pop those onto the card to bring a little focus. Oh, that one's not a good spot. Try again. There you go. And every card is going to look different because all your flowers are going to be different. You might have placed your sentiment slightly different or used a different one than I did. So don't worry about being unique. It's all good. Doesn't have to look exactly like mine. There is your card. I'll bring in this one too because it's got the nice alternative paper on it. But there's a fun card for you. So we did the distressing technique around the edge. We did the crumple the flower technique for your paper. And hopefully you were able to kind of get a few ideas of something that you can do with your own supplies in the future. So I would really appreciate if you gave this video a little like and consider subscribing to my channel. I appreciate your support, and then you get notified every time I put something new up. But if you're looking for more inspiration, I have a whole cache of videos, so check out my channel and go back and watch a bunch of those as well. I look forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday on our I don't even know the number anymore, on our next edition of Show Me How It's Done. Bye.